This is not just an ending. It is a rupture. The Stranger Things finale doesn't simply close a story, it fractures the truth itself. On the surface, everything appears final. Eleven sacrifices herself. Vecna is destroyed, the Upside Down collapses, the gates are sealed, the nightmare ends. But nothing about this ending is as straightforward as it seems, because one question changes everything. Did Eleven truly die, or did she disappear? Was Vecna ever the real villain, or merely a vessel for something far older and far more powerful? Did the Mind Flayer control Henry Creel, or did Henry willingly embrace the darkness? And why does one small, almost ignored detail completely rewrite who was truly in control the entire time? The answer lies with Eleven. Her final moment hides something most viewers miss: a choice, a pattern, a possibility, one that fundamentally changes how her sacrifice is meant to be understood. Miss this connection and the ending doesn't fully make sense, because this finale isn't really about death. It's about where the story actually ends. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. After 5 seasons and nearly a decade, Stranger Things reaches its epic conclusion with a massive final battle that pushes Eleven and her friends beyond every limit they have ever known, deep inside the Upside Down and far beyond it. Episode 8, an extended finale titled The Right Side Ups, brings every long-planned strategy into motion as the group prepares for one last confrontation with Vecna at the exact moment he attempts to fuse the real world with his dark dimension, the Abyss. What follows is a nearly 2-hour spectacle packed with emotional payoffs, devastating sacrifices, buried truths, and callbacks spanning the entire series. It is the end of Netflix's biggest franchise to date, at least for now. The final plan, dubbed Operation Beanstalk, is deceptively simple but terrifying in execution. Steve's strategy relies on timing the attack precisely as the Abyss grows close enough to the real world to be accessed from the top of the Upside Down's laboratory tower. That is where they make their stand, against Vecna, and attempt to rescue the children he has been using to merge the two worlds. At the same time, Eleven and her sister 8, also known as Kali, prepare to enter Vecna's mind using their psychic abilities, with Max acting as their guide through his memories. Before the chaos begins, the episode gives us one final, quiet moment. Will and Mike share a deeply emotional conversation following Will's coming out in episode 7. They reaffirm their bond and promise that no matter what happens, they will always be best friends. It is a moment of calm before the storm. As the worlds begin to merge, the tower starts to collapse under the pressure of the Abyss. Just in time, Eleven halts the process, freezing the collapse and saving her friends from being crushed beneath the structure. That pause allows Steve, Nancy, Jonathan, and the others to descend into the Abyss to rescue the captured children. Along the way, Steve and Jonathan finally set aside their long-standing rivalry, bonding over their shared love for Nancy and everything they have survived together. Inside Vecna's mind, the psychological warfare intensifies. He manipulates Hopper, attempting to turn him against Eleven. This leads to a brutal emotional confrontation between father and daughter, one of the most intense moments of the finale. As if the situation weren't already chaotic, the US military arrives in the Upside Down, complicating everything. At the same time, Will senses Vecna's presence and confronts his long-standing fear of the underground tunnels. He urges the others to keep moving toward Vecna's lair to save the children, while he stays behind, attempting to use his connection to Vecna to slow him down. Hopper manages to move Eleven to safety, but is captured when he returns for Kali. What follows is pure chaos. Murray detonates C4 on a military helicopter, creating just enough distraction for Eleven to break free and kill the soldiers holding Hopper and Kali captive. But the victory comes at a devastating cost. The distraction is not enough to save Kali, who is fatally shot during the escape. Her death becomes one of the most painful sacrifices of the entire series. Inside Vecna's mind, 11, Max and Collie's journey through his memories begins in 1959, the year Henry Creel first discovered his powers. This time period directly connects to Stranger Things: The First Shadow on Broadway. They move through fragmented memories, including moments tied to Joyce's school play, before locating the exact path they need, the one leading to Henry's childhood home, where the stolen children are being held. Reaching this moment allows 11 to challenge Vecna directly, buying Max enough time to guide the children towards safety through the tunnels. But Vecna refuses to lose control. He attacks Hopper's memories once again, forcing him out of the psychic battle entirely and removing him from the board. That leaves Holy Wheeler alone, guiding the remaining children through the darkness. The children reach the cave system, but Vecna overcomes his fear and pursues them. Holy leads them to the exact place where young Henry was first infected by the Mind Flayer's particles, after murdering the Russian scientist who had been studying the creature. The scientist had warned Henry not to let it consume him. Henry ignored the warning and killed him instead. Reliving this memory prevents Vecna from reaching Holy and allows Will to finally understand. Vecna was never the true master. He was a vessel. But Vecna reveals something even darker. He wasn't controlled by the Mind Flayer. He chose it. Together, they planned the merging of worlds from the very beginning. That revelation changes everything. Vecna's lair in the Abyss was never just a location. It was the Mind Flayer itself all along. When the Mind Flayer finally reveals its true form, 11 does something unthinkable. She launches herself directly into the creature, choosing to fight Vecna from within. At the same time, the others devise a desperate plan to weaken the Mind Flayer by attacking its most vulnerable points, knowing that damaging it will also damage Vecna. Working together, Will and 11 land the decisive blows. For a moment, it feels like they've won. Nancy finds Holly. The children are freed. Hope returns. But Vecna is not finished. As the group regathers, battered, exhausted, it is Joyce who delivers the final blow. With a swing of an axe, she decapitates Vecna and ends his reign of terror once and for all. The victory is real, but the cost will never fade. With the threat neutralized, Dustin gives Hopper and Murray the signal to detonate the explosives and destroy the Upside Down. But just as they believe it's over, Dr. Owens ambushes them, capturing Hopper and Murray in a final attempt to seize control of 11. Once again, he underestimates her. 11 escapes and makes a choice no one else can stop. She sacrifices herself, sealing herself inside the Upside Down before it's destroyed, exactly as Collie once warned would be the only way to end the suffering forever. The explosives detonate, the Upside Down collapses, the portal closes. 11 is erased. 18 months later, Hawkins rebuilds. A memorial stands in honor of the victims of what the town calls the Great Earthquake, a lie that hides the truth. Graduation approaches. Lives move forward. Steve becomes a youth baseball coach. Nancy trains as a journalist. Jonathan studies film at NYU. Hopper finds Mike at the memorial, blaming himself for 11's fate. Hopper reminds him of the truth. 11 chose this, and honoring her means living. Mike graduates. Dustin delivers a Dungeons & Dragons-inspired valedictorian speech about how chaos brought Hawkins together, ending it with one last prank. Joyce and Hopper share a quiet dinner. Hopper proposes, Joyce says yes. The boys return to the basement one last time to play D&D. Mike writes happy endings, and then he shares a theory. What if 11 never died? What if she and Collie faked her sacrifice? What if she escaped to a quiet, hidden place where no one could ever find her? There's no proof, but they choose to believe it. The Duffer Brothers leave 11's fate unresolved on purpose. Whether she survived or not doesn't matter, because she lives on in them. And once you realize that, you understand the ending was never about death. It was about hope.